The 10-minute Talent Rant is live. I'm James Hornick, joined by Jeff Smith, and we are on the clock. The 10-minute Talent Rant is our ongoing series where we break down things that are broken in the talent acquisition and hiring space, maybe even pitch a solution or two. Probably not today, maybe not. Before we dig in, all of our content can be found on talentinsights.hirewell.com. This week's topic, marketplaces, recruiting as a self-service, AKA why talent marketplaces will go from meh to fuck yeah.
Amazing title.
Yeah, we made some moves recently. Those of you may know we acquired an organization last fall that was focused on like AI sourcing tech, and last week or 2 weeks ago at this point, we acquired an organization called Rainmakers. It's a talent marketplace focused in sales, SaaS sales, that whole niche. Michael Ferguson, his whole team, they're great. It was a no-brainer for us for a bunch of reasons. Why are we making this move, and why do I think it's important? And I have to say, I've been a fanboy of like marketplaces, the whole concept forever. And I've always thought this is a direction we want to go from a talent standpoint. But why now? And why is this important? And it all comes back to how bad contingent search sucks.
It always does.
If you haven't seen any of our previous flames or any of our previous rants on the inevitable decline of contingent recruiting, Cliff's Notes, it's basically from a bygone area where skill sets were way more general and personal profiles were hard to find, which is not the world we live in now.
Yep. Job seekers had way less options. Companies didn't have to be sophisticated. It still lingers. You've got, this viral, job out there now. It's all going into a vacuum. Nobody cares. Things have kind of taken a bit of a 180. Like specialization is the norm, and part of what we're going to discuss is exactly why specialization is really important with these specific marketplaces. Job seekers have super high expectations, especially now in this market. And honestly, everyone's kind of doxed themselves on LinkedIn anyways.
Yeah, so, like everyone's information is ubiquitous. Like if you would have told me 20 years ago that literally every professional's like personal details are going to be free on the internet somewhere, I would have thought you were crazy.
Right.
Now it's just taken for granted.
Right. I mean, you're out there. It doesn't matter. So the way we see it, contingent's basically, it's being ripped apart in 4 distinct directions. So like, can you give us just the rundown of those?
Sure. So first, highly specialized, expensive hires are going the retained route. Exec has always been this way. You would never put like a CEO search out on a contingent basis. Doesn't make any sense. But the thing is, like, it's getting pushed down the org chart. So more and more VP level roles, director level roles, and even further down, manager roles, even really hard to find individual contributor roles. Like it's all going the route of these are hard to find. We need to be razor focused in kind of the type of people we go for. You need to actually have someone kind of committed to running the search for you. That's why that whole business that's the way our business has gone, but that's the way a lot of organizations are trying to run, to realize they need someone actually committed to running their searches. That's one. Second is internal talent acquisition is just growing and blowing up. So like high skill recruiters who are very good, not just kind of farming, but people who are strong with process, strong with branding, strong with the communication aspect, whether it's, permanent hire people, or whether it's more of an on-demand model where you're renting them, which is also something that we do. People are realizing it's important to have very strong internal recruiters. Sourcing technology is improving. So like the biggest grind in any recruiter's job is actually finding the people to contact. That's always been the most time consuming portion of any job. So as we were saying before, like there was once an important time where you had to actually be good at gathering referrals. That's how you actually like made your year. Or if you're an internal recruiter, like that was the only way you can get anything done, finding people. Then everything got put online. Then you can find people on LinkedIn. So everyone's out there, but even that became time consuming. But now we're getting to a point where over time, it's gonna be easier and easier to actually find the right people in lesser and lesser time.
Yeah.
But the last part, which is pulling kind of contingent apart, is marketplaces. And I've always said anything that can be self-service should be self-service. If it's something that someone can do without having a middleman or someone, it's something that they should. And here's the thing, recruiting firms, like we're marketplaces. We're closed, private middlemen. I don't mean this to sound bad, but it's like the most inefficient marketplace there is. Like it's a difference between like going into a brokerage platform and trading versus actually having to call a guy on the floor of the trading floor back in the 80s to like execute an order for you. Like you paid out the nose, it was patient, painfully inefficient. There's no public visibility or self-service component to it. And that's ultimately what we're looking to do, and why I believe that aside from what we're doing, marketplaces are really going to take off in the next 10 years.
Yeah, it's why we get compared to real estate all the time, but it's why when Redfin came out, it was, oh, Redfin's terrible. All the real estate, Redfin's the worst. No, it's not. It's literally just all the information is there. So now people can just make decisions on it. Remember when Career Builder was going to make recruiters extinct?
Yeah. Like I remember when I started in recruiting, that was like why are you getting in that career? It's like it's a dead industry. There's Career Builder now.
We're going to put all of our jobs on a board, and like all these amazing applicants are just going to come, knocking on our doorstep, and we're just going to have a pick of the litter. Like it's just so dumb to think that way. Hiring managers, you just get, this now, you get flooded with a bunch of resumes. You don't know what to do with them. 99% of them, like it's not even sort of close. Like they're not remotely close, literally not reading the job spec. And job seekers are sifting through hundreds of pages of job postings that they have absolutely no idea if they're even relevant for or not.
Yeah. And then they get ghosted because the good old easy apply button made it easy for literally everybody to literally apply to everything. And there you go. Just a mess.
Yep.
And I think of it in terms of like the meat of a search too, because anybody out there who's a recruiter like knows this, like you have to go to any search that really comes down to is talking to the hiring manager, pulling out like the real things that truly matter, which they're never in the resume and they're never in the job description. And that's also why job boards are terrible. But like in the sales realm, it's things like average deal size or quota or sales cycle length and stuff like that. Like this next level vetting and standardizing that data so you can actually do something with it if you're trying to either evaluate multiple companies or multiple candidates and whatnot.
Yeah, like what's happening on the back end, job seeker, we don't hate you. Honestly, anybody that expresses interest, whether they're relevant or not, we really do appreciate the time that folks put into sending these applications out, especially the ones that are thoughtful. Mm-hmm. Thousands of people are concurrently doing that at the exact same time. It's just a bandwidth issue. You're basically putting a recruiter in a scenario that is untenable. To your point, there's zero intelligence baked into the actual vetting of the competencies that you just went through.
That's why it's hysterical to me that like there's still places looking to start the new job board. It's literally a WordPress plugin. Like click a button and you've created one anyway.
Right. I mean, the big difference to get specific to the marketplace, and if you're like considering, the idea of using one, is the idea of self-service is self-service. You have to be able to commit the time investment that it takes to properly vet a candidate once you know that the curated lists are targeted to you. So you say, all right, Rainmakers and Hirewell definitely know what they're doing. We can get these sales folks into our funnel, yada, yada, yada. They're doing the quota analysis. They're doing like the deal size, all of this stuff. If your process stinks, it won't matter. It won't matter. Yeah. So you have to have some semblance of security that your process is good, that your pitch is good, that the product's good, that the thing that you are building is something that gets people pumped up. And I actually think that that's more than half of the reason that marketplaces haven't taken off. So like, what are some of the reasons you don't think that that's happened?
I'd say that it is safe to say that none of them have knocked out of the park yet. It's funny because I brought this up in a conversation the other day, like RigUp, WorkRise had tons of street cred, like in the oil and gas space, but then I heard they also laid off like 400 people. So whoops. But anyways, short answer is kind of two reasons. So first, like all recruitment tech, most of these organizations so far have been driven by non-recruiters who don't even understand the challenges that need to be solved to make a recruiting process work self-service. So that's one.
Every single one that I have ever run into is from somebody from the commercial space. Every one of them. Yeah.
Secondly, and the reason why more haven't gotten involved is most actual recruiters feel threatened by this entire process and the whole concept of it. So, I mean, Jeff and I are here fully willing to admit that a segment of our job should be taken out of our hands just because it can be. It's terrifying. This is something that like most recruiters could never wrap their heads around or admit, or fear they're going to work themselves out of a job. But as we talked about before, there's plenty of other things that recruiters need to be doing that, if there's jobs that can be like self-service, then that also says maybe you should be working and focusing on a different segment.
One of the very few things that I want to just give a big old bear hug to. Hate hugs. I'll hug making my job easier, even if it means making me a little bit more redundant.
That's it. We're short on clock. That's a wrap for this week. Thanks for tuning in to 10-Minute Talent Rant, part of the Talent Insights series, which is always available for replay on talentinsights.hireable.com, as well as YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon. Jeff, thanks again as always. Everyone out there, see you soon.